telling you.
God dang it. Mike,
Mo,
I gotta be honest, I'm actually really glad that we're finally doing some type of project together.
this is, it happened. We came together through universe forces, put us in the same room, and it just clicked. Auras lined up.
We also just knew a mutual friend that was like, hey,
Yeah,
you should
that's
guys link
true.
up. You guys would be cool people together.
That's fair.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't as profound as maybe I
No.
painted that picture.
I actually remember the first day I met you. You were an asshole.
Was I?
No, not really.
Was
Actually,
I?
it was right before a show that you were gonna
That I
headline.
was on?
Yeah, you were on.
And
And you just came up and I was like, oh hey, you're Chappelle's friend. And I shook your hand. I was like, hey, good to meet you. And you're like, all right, cool. And then you just like totally like
Because I was probably
you were busy.
pre-show mode. is
Pre-show,
like,
yeah.
I'm always like, first of all, I'm also an asshole post-show. Because
I don't know. I don't think I've gotten that.
I'm in Mikey post-show celeb mode. Just
What
crushed.
is that like?
Just feeling the vibe. You know that you just did something that was pretty cool, and everybody's trying to compliment you or say something and be like, good job on all that stuff. But you also have to talk to every single one of them. So you have to get through that. It's kind of actually...
It's interesting because I kind of do the same thing with my shit, even though I'm like not as awesome, I think, as you are, because it's live, whereas I'm on a radio station where it is live technically, but no one sees me doing what I do.
It's different, but also, yeah. I mean, yours is obviously... You don't have a live audience, is I guess your only thing. You do it live.
Yeah.
But you don't have the immediate impact of, like, that immediate laughter, which is a crazy thing. And
It's messed up. I have to pretend that they're laughing in my head, but they're just laughing at me, not with me.
that is, honestly, on the radio when I try to be funny or something, even jumping on your show, I'm like, I hope people in their car are losing control of the wheel because I made them laugh so hard.
I think Jesus took it at one point.
Jesus, take the wheel. This joke's gonna mess you up. So, I don't know. That is but yeah, the post show mode is my brothers made fun of me one time. I was it was a roast of America we did last July 4th, and everybody did well. But honestly, like, I could pat myself on the back. I felt like I either had the best set or one of the best sets. Like, I did real well, right? And this one girl went up to some of my buddies, and they were like, I loved the guy in the spacesuit. I wore a spacesuit because I'm
Jesus.
an idiot, and
Of
I had
course.
two
You had to stand out.
I had the SpaceX jokes. You get it? And I wore a Malcolm X hat.
I snorted at that.
and so either way, this girl goes up to who she did not know was my brother and said, I loved that guy in the space uniform and all that stuff. And John's like, oh, that's my brother. And he's going to probably come over here. You should introduce yourself. I go over, say what up to my brother and my buddies. Post-show mode, just crushed. Boom, 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 dapping up. And they're trying to tell me, hey, this girl who's beautiful thought you were the funniest person, whatever. And they didn't say that, but they were literally like, hey, this is whatever.
They're trying to hand this off to you.
Like, hey, this girl really thought you were funny. And post-show Mike was like, oh, that's what's up. Yeah, Mike, follow me on Instagram.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh,
you
and I kept it moving, and like I had like other people to say what up to, and like 30 minutes go by, and I see them again, and they were like, wow, you messed that up.
But honestly, do you want to meet somebody that is just, I don't know. I feel like it's weird to meet someone that only knows you for what you've done, but like has not met you organically, like at the grocery store.
Yeah, and then considering the messed up things that I said on stage that night, that's what you're attracted to.
Exactly.
But
and also how humble you are. That was my favorite part of the story.
Sure.
Yeah.
I crushed.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I'm very humble. I keep it modest. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm an asshole most of the time.
Yeah.
But and then you get off every day. You have to go into the radio, and you crush what 3.5, 4. How many hours are you on every day?
I mean, with the show, I get up at 3:30 in the morning. I have to be here around. I leave my house like 4:45, 5. It depends on the day.
4:45, 5.
4:45,
4:45,
4:45, 5, 5:30. We'll be around there. My show starts at 5:30,
Okay.
and then I end it at 10 o'clock.
So that's 4.5 hours.
That's 4.5 hours of like straight work, talking on the air and whatnot. I mean, granted,
I only have to do 45 minutes tops.
but dude, it's different though, because when you're on the air, there's a lot more moving parts. Like, yeah, there's music playing, and technically for an hour, I'm only talking maybe 5 to 7 minutes out of that entire hour.
That's true, yeah, because most of it's music, and then some of it's even maybe pre-recorded stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Some of it's pre-recorded depending on what segment it is. If it's like a news segment that I'm doing that has a bunch of different moving pieces, I gotta record them. There's just too much going on where I can't do it live, especially for the amount of time I have to do it. Because with my show, it's more music driven. Just because the alternative world, they only want the alternative world in mornings flourish when you just have one person on the show.
Because
like
they
all
really
the big
just want
radio
Eve
stations.
6. They don't want you.
Exactly.
They just want Eve 6.
I mean, if they can get the Killers one more time, they're
just
going
one
to lose
more
their
time.
shit.
Imagine Dragon, 21 Pilots. Hello.
I'm just saying Thunder. Okay? Feel the thunder.
You get it.
Yeah. That song, by the way, has like Thunder 76 times in it. I couldn't handle it anymore.
Even more than the AC/DC song?
Yeah, probably.
Did you ever play that drinking game?
Ooh, no.
You had to drink.
Dang, that's a really good idea.
Yeah, you drink every time. So you go around a circle and you drink till he says thunder, and then the next person drinks, and then you stop drinking when he says thunder. The thing is, within the AC/DC song Thunder, there's like 2 points where he doesn't say it for probably like close to a minute.
Oh my
So you
God.
gotta chug. It's a beautiful game.
That's a terrible
It's like
game.
yeah, it's hot potato.
That
It's hot
sounds
potato.
terrible. But no, and then after I get off the air, sometimes I'll do a Facebook Live and I'll talk to my listeners.
True.
Then after that, and which is roughly like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Then after that, I'll stay here until about noon. I'm recording commercials, recording liners for the next day, doing any type of promos. If I got to record a video, I got to do that, or just prepping for the show the next day.
Yeah.
Then I got to go home, chill, eat food, and then prep again for the show the next morning.
Yeah.
There's so much prep in between. It's ridiculous. Like it's nonstop, but that's why I love this job, because it keeps me motivated to do more and to get better.
Okay.
But I also get bogged down because I feel like I'm not doing enough, or I'm not doing my best.
But what is your best? Maybe even prepping better, or like.
Dude, it's a bunch of things. Like, one, it's prepping better.
Yeah.
2, it's learning how to come up with looking at a situation, and just like how you make jokes with something, you have to approach it from a different angle that no one else has approached it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I have to think of it like that in that aspect, or I have to find news that no one's talking about.
Sure.
And then watch it trend the next day.
This is one thing that I consider so you probably run into something that comedians run into all the time, which is in comedy, we're really all talking about the same thing. Whereas you as a radio host, you're doing the same thing that almost every other radio host is doing. You're covering the silly news. You're covering maybe, the pop culture news for sure and all that stuff. You're covering most of the same news. That's in stand-up, we're all talking about the same thing. People act like they're breaking the mold when they talk about this, that, or the third. We're talking about relationships, whether it be, a loving relationship or a family relationship. You're talking about work. You're talking about, sometimes whatever the city you're in, stuff like that. We're all talking about the same major subjects. The differentiator is really being yourself.
Right.
Is what at least that's my fundamental belief within stand-up, is that the best people, we're all talking about the same stuff. How have you made it your perspective so much that it is unique, right? I've never heard somebody talking about weather like that. Cat Williams, you can listen to Cat Williams special. He's talking about the same stuff everybody's talking about. But I'll be damned if nobody's talking about it the way Cat Williams is talking about it, right?
Yeah, you're right.
And so in radio, I think that's probably what you have to try to do, right?
Yeah.
Just make it yourself, make it Mo.
Right. And that's hard, because sometimes I'll get a news article that just came in that morning or something.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to eventually talk about it at some point to stay topical and to stay relevant. And sometimes it's just hard to think of like jokes or things to, make fun of it and make light of it or find a point. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
And then when I'm at home, sometimes I'll come up with the point. It's so much work. I just wish I had another brain or someone actually funny that could tell me to do all these things.
It's tough. It is tough. I mean, sometimes you just hit a wall. In stand-up, sometimes you'll get all these. You'll do a whole thing. Maybe I'll do 45 minutes of material one night, and afterwards I'll be like, all right, now I got to think of a new 45.
Right.
The coming up with new jokes sometimes is a very daunting task,
Mm-hmm.
and it's honestly that's where the hard work is for a comedian.
Do you find yourself funnier, like on the fly, like on the cusp?
I think
Like
that
wittier?
certain people can be, and I think that that's definitely one of my skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Is like being able to create in the moment is definitely one of my favorite things to do. Because I'll tell you right now, it means I don't have to write a new joke.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think about it. But I mean, you write a joke within that moment, which is
Yeah.
cool, right? It's like sometimes I perform the best when my back's against the wall.
Uh-huh.
And in that moment, you have this, whether it be like somebody maybe interrupted your set, like a heckler or something like that, or you notice somebody in the crowd and you start talking to them. In that moment, you've got to think on the fly. And I think that I'm very good at that, and certain people are very good at that. I also think that when you do create on the fly, the crowd will give you the benefit of the doubt.
Mhm.
If it's like a mediocre joke, you just thought about it on the fly, so it's so much greater because the audience understands. It is crazy how
Mhm.
audience knows, like, oh, he just thought of that,
Right.
which is crazy.
And see, what I get upset over is I will say something, I'll talk about a news story, and then after I'll say my stupid joke that didn't make any real sense.
Mhm.
And then like 2 minutes later, I'll think of something immediately.
yeah.
And I'm like, I can't say this again.
Yeah.
But here's the good thing about radio. Not everybody's listening at the same time. So if I talk about a story at 7 a.m.,
Yep.
the same people aren't listening at 9 a.m.
True.
It's so strange because everyone, well, especially in the morning time, people are going to their destination. Not everybody.
I mean, usually
tunes
people in their
in and
car
chimes
for
in.
20, 30 minutes.
Right. That's the average commute is about 20, 30 minutes
Right.
for people. So it's just trying to capture them and get them with that. There's just so much weird science behind radio that I didn't realize getting into.
Yeah.
I thought it was just all fun and games and being your authentic self. But no, man, there's a science behind all of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like keeping people, you want to keep people wrapped into your show for like 5 minutes at a time
Yeah.
because you get points for certain things, and that's how you get ratings. And it's
It
so
is
much
nutty.
weird work.
It's nutty stuff, and I've been able to obviously be in the what would you call it, the booth, I guess.
Yeah,
Your room,
studio.
Your
Mhm.
studio. I've been in the studio with you when you're recording, and maybe I was on for a segment or something, and it's funny watching you do all these things. Once we're either done recording the segment, you're maybe doing some editing, some chopping down, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
And you're moving quick.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
brain is moving at a different speed, for sure. And it's impressive to be able to see you do all that, boom, 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 and then all of a sudden you turn and be like, all right, we're back on in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And then, like, you're able to flip the switch so quick back to Mo. It is impressive. And I think I see the similarities between that and stand-up. I mean, sometimes you could just be having a shit day or whatever your attitude is, or you got into a fight with somebody right before you're about to go to the stage or something.
Right.
Like, I know for a fact I've had blow-up conversations with family members right before I had to get to a show and do something. And at the end of the day, once you get on that stage and the mic's on and the lights on you and stuff, I mean, you gotta, and that's the same type of thing with you. You just do it in the studio on the air.
Oh, dude, let me tell you this one time, my old producer, him and I got into a pretty massive argument on the air during the breaks.
Sure.
Or not on while the breaks, but in between breaks.
Like not
He
on
was-
the air.
Not on the air, but it would have been a really interesting conversation to have.
Really?
And it probably would have been great for ratings, and I need to remember those things.
Authenticity.
It is authenticity.
People
It's
love
about
that.
bringing those things up.
Yeah.
But, I had pissed him off because a few weeks back before this fight, he had asked me what my thoughts of him about moving to a different position.
Okay.
And I told him, I was like, hey, dude, go for it if you want to. More power to you. But he asked my opinion on how I think he would do. So I told him the truth. I
You
wasn't
told
going to
him real-
sugarcoat
Yeah,
it. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
look, dude, you are not about the station. You don't go to any of the shows. You don't even listen to the music.
Yeah.
What makes you think that you could fill this position? And I was like, unless you want to prove me wrong. I was like, honestly, I'd rather you prove me wrong
Yeah.
because I hired this guy.
Right.
So he got pissed. He didn't talk to me for a few days.
I love it.
And then when we finally,
Don't you love when people ask you for your
Right.
opinion, and then you tell them your opinion, and it's not what they wanted to hear?
Yeah, and so then I come back on, the following week. We do the show. I didn't even put him on the air because he wasn't talking to me.
Right.
So I wasn't going to have a fake conversation with him. And he freaked out. He's like, what, you're just not going to talk to me on the air anymore? So I told him, I was like, look, dude, this is my show.
Yeah.
My name's on this line. If you're going to sit here and act like the way that you are, I don't need that. You can go outside and do something else. And then at one point he starts telling me I'm selfish and all I care about is myself.
Yeah.
This is in between breaks still. And then I just fucking blew up and I'm like crying and I'm upset. I'm like, you need to get the fuck out of the studio if you're going to act like this. Then I have to turn around and do a break in 30 seconds, change my voice completely and did it as if nothing happened. And it is so much extra work to pretend to be something else. It's like wearing a mask and then taking that shit off immediately. Yeah.
It's crazy, but first of all, that goes back to being a professional, though.
You have to, because when you're in that moment, you can't. Everything else is out the door. When you're in that studio, it's about what's going on in there.
Right.
You don't see any late night hosts going up super upset. I mean, okay, Jimmy Kimmel, for instance, he's a different story because if he's going through something with like, I think they had.
He's able to do it.
He's able to do it.
Letterman was always able to do that too. Letterman was one of the best. He brought his real life into the show. You know, it might not have been his choice, but there were some situations with him, and I believe it was his infidelity with his. I don't even know if they were married at that point, but his longtime partner, and he did bring that on the show, and those are the moments really. And then after 9/11, the Letterman after 9/11 stuff. Yeah, those are the moments that people really attach to, though. You always have people say, you know, people remember when Jon Stewart came back on after 9/11 on The Daily Show. Like, those are the moments when people, like, really bring up the realness and the raw emotion of it. Because that's what people want. That's what I think that people always seek. And I think right now it's funny, and, you know just as much as anybody with music. I see in comedy more so, but, like, my perspective on who's really making it, I always say that the people that I love and continue to love and support, whether it be in music or comedy, whatever, the more that I continue to love them throughout their career and they continue to get better, it always coincides with them being more real as they continue to grow as an artist. I think Kendrick Lamar is a great example of somebody that has always been real, raw, and authentic, but has mastered his ability to be able to connect with more people through that. Bill Burr is a great example of that. Dave Chappelle, obviously, in comedy. I think, people, you could say what you want about the dude, but Kanye West, nobody else has had a mental breakdown in public.
Time out.
As much as.
Do we not remember Martin Lawrence's mental breakdown?
Okay, but Kanye is okay. Great examples though. Both, I love Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like all those things. Both those people. So like,
Britney Spears.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Bieber we got to see Bieber's flaws.
Yeah.
Bieber is somebody that people. First of all, I think that our generation has grown to accept Bieber,
Lindsay
but
Lohan,
there was like
shit. I'm like Lohan.
Yeah. Those are my favorites.
Amanda Bynes. Oh my god. But
now they didn't continue to make good art. No, I'm talking about also they coincide with them being able to continue to make authentic, being authentic to themselves, but also making real good shit.
Yeah.
And I love that. I'm trying to think. There's got to be.
And I
got
to be honest, man. I'm ready for another She's the Man. Too.
They're not doing it.
They should. I hear Channing Tatum's not doing anything right now.
I hear.
There's Amanda Bynes.
Didn't they remake that Ladybug movie to the soccer? Oh no, She's the Man. Was that the soccer one?
Yeah, that was the soccer one.
Which was pretty much Ladybugs. You remember
Ladybugs?
Yeah,
with
Rodney Dangerfield.
Yes, Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great movie.
I know, it's so good. But here's the thing. You mentioned all these people and watching them, and we're watching their lives.
Yeah.
Both in good and bad, but
yes.
With the good, it's exciting because for me, watching them as influencers, like that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be I wanted to be a Chris Hardwick, like that for me. Like for me, that I know you don't really like Chris Hardwick, but for me,
I don't not like Chris Hardwick. I always think it's funny that that's a topic. But that's if I asked you one of your major inspirations, you would say.
Yeah, I would say Chris Hardwick.
Yeah.
I would definitely say Carly Hustle, who used to do radio out here in Arizona back in the day. Just people that are authentically themselves and weren't afraid to be themselves.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm struggling a little bit on how to open up just a bit more.
Yeah.
I do it. I'm a pretty open book.
Yeah, as far as conversations I've had with you off mic, even on mic, we've been pretty.
Yeah, we're pretty open, and I'm pretty open. I have a hard time being open on the air because I only have so much time to talk.
Yeah. And
I really don't know how to convey that quite yet. So, but I am extremely open on my Instagram. Like, people don't know. I'm not sure if people realize what goes on behind the scenes with my life, not just with like, my relationships, with my family and stuff. Like I want people to see that, but now I need to learn how to convey it so that I could be.
Yeah.
I feel like once I do that, I can open up a whole other book and probably launch myself into something different, like almost slingshot myself.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to grab so many more people too, because the other perspective on, we were mentioning all these people that are authentic and they're also wildly successful in their career. I think that they are able to be that successful because people don't realize that they notice it, but everybody notices fake shit.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't, or at least maybe they don't notice it, but the real shines through. The authentic always shines through. Where the fake shit that rises to the top, a one-hit wonder is usually based on bullshit, right? You're a one-hit wonder because you weren't actually that. I mean, you probably fluffed up something.
You got too popular too quick.
And you weren't really that good in the first place, right? A lot of times you'll find that in music, somebody else wrote the shit or somebody else produced the shit or something like that. They put them on. And then, obviously you fell off because you weren't really that talented in the first place. But the real shit, the more authentic you are, it just shines so through because so many people are just fake as fuck.
Oh, yeah.
These days, especially with social media, because you're able to present yourself so whatever way you think is best to present yourself, as opposed to just presenting yourself, like you're saying, in a real way. Showing your fans that this is what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know if I love Schoolboy Q, for example. Schoolboy Q is one of my favorite people. I already liked his music because it's real and it connects in a real way. Then he's on Instagram and I get to see him with his daughter all the time and stuff like that. And he's so funny, and he's one of those celebrities that I already liked his music, but then I get to know him through social media, which is not him he doesn't set anything up in a way. He's not getting angles to make himself look better or something like that. That's just a father with his daughter having a great day, and he's making fun of her the whole day. And it's beautiful. It's just like that's the way to connect with people these days. And it's hard. It's good that you're at least conscious of the fact that you should not only work on it. You maybe be too hard on yourself, right? You don't really need to work on being more open and honest. You need to figure out how to be able to portray that in a real way to your audience in the medium that you already have them through. And it's hard because radio can all feel like a facade.
Absolutely.
And
I mean, growing up, seeing some of the people in radio too, you think of them one way and they're a different way. Gosh, I can name so many people right now, but I'm not going to for just this moment.
But it is what I always just think of the Wayne's World thing when they're just
oh my God,
like that Wayne's World interaction is always so crazy, and then it goes on. It's like, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not you. First of all,
Handsome Dan, and screaming whatever his name is.
It's because radio is probably filled with fake fucks, right?
There's a lot of interesting personalities in radio, we'll say. Some of them are fake, some of them are as real as they could possibly be.
But who is the person that has not only changed radio but redefined what could be done on radio?
Obviously the most obvious answer is Howard Stern.
And how real is Howard Stern?
The realist.
I fucking love Howard Stern.
But here's the thing. Here in Arizona, we have, I guess, our own version of Howard Stern, which is John Holmberg.
Yeah.
And for me, growing up in radio and listening to him, like, that was a major influence for me because I wanted to be as real as he is, open book, and not be afraid to give my opinion.
Yep.
But I'm in a position right now where I feel like I can't do that because of my audience. Because let me tell you, the audience that I was going for is not the audience that I got.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I started at KUPD for a bit doing like real on-air stuff,
and
for me that was a big proud moment because I was the first chick in like 8 years to be back on that be on that station. It
very diverse
dominated.
Over there.
Extremely diverse. Let me tell you, so much.
Do they
color.
need another white guy? I'm free.
I don't think they have enough,
Just
so we're gonna
tell
need
them I'm
you.
around.
Yeah, well, they need talented white guys, so.
Well, okay.
Sorry. I was going to ask Anwar, but, then I was like, wait,
he actually is a talented white guy.
But no, he's a major influence because he can be that open and honest, and he's kind of taught me a bit here and there, too.
Yeah.
And it's great because he has taken me under his wing to try and help me gain more confidence into where I am and to be authentically me. So I felt grateful to have him in my corner.
100%.
But also, like, it is nice to have him poke some fun at me too and humanize me.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, you're cool, but you're not the shit. Remember that. You're not me. Wait till you get there. But the cool thing is he believes that I could get there.
That's good.
Yeah.
That'd push you a long way too. And I think it's interesting you were saying that it's not the audience that maybe you thought. But isn't that a lot of that dictated on the music that you're playing?
That too. Well, the audience that I first got followed me from KUPD, so a lot of males over at Alt AZ. But now, like, my audience is a lot younger. It's it's actually right down the middle. I have women and men.
Yeah.
But kids.
Really?
I have kids coming up to me and talking to me about how much they love my show.
Really?
They love, like, nerdgasm, and I'm like, oh God, if you only knew what the gasm part meant. But I mean,
are you talking like teenagers or like how?
I'm
like
talking kids as young as 5.
Really?
All the way up until like teenagers.
That's interesting.
I got a postcard from a little girl that ended up winning something from me.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she got like $100 gift card or whatever. So her and her family went out to Disneyland, and she wrote me a postcard saying how much she had a great time and that she's so grateful that I did that. I have people messaging me on how I get them through their day, which to me is unreal.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I don't see what I do for you guys, but I'm just glad that you have me along for the ride. Like, I'm so grateful, but I'm like, man, what am I doing so I know how to bottle it and keep selling you that? I know this sounds weird.
No, but I mean, a lot of people don't have. So I think some people are like, they think what I do is really cool just because they know they couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the, what is it, the confidence, I guess, to be able to go up on stage and do that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And what you do is probably very comparable. I mean, you have the ability every day to show people not only that you're confident enough to run a radio show in the morning,
mm-hmm.
which is always that's the hot time to be on the radio, right?
Sure.
For 4.5 hours, but also you believe in yourself enough to continue to do it and continue to challenge yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All those kids are just trying to. I mean, it's the same way that you were influenced by.
You're right.
Would you say Carly Hustle?
Yeah, Carly Hustle.
Like that's the same.
Dude,
like why? So let's
you're
break that
absolutely
down.
Right.
Then
oh,
why?
God.
What were the things that?
I can't even begin to tell you.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, going back and you saying that made me think about the times I actually would write her when email first started coming out.
So that's all that kid and
she
writing you is doing.
responded talking about, and I remember I was not upset that 92.3 was changing to 98.3, but I remember sending her a message and talking about it, and she actually took the time and messaged me back. And also, same thing, how I got into radio.
And this is, first of all, old school. You're talking about
No, like when email first came out.
Okay.
Email first
this
came out.
Did you page her?
Yeah.
Did you page her?
I mean, I hit her up. I hit her up with a 143 and the 911. I love you. Hurry up and call me.
Funny.
But no, same thing, how I got into radio. Like, I was working 3 jobs.
Yeah.
Trying to move out to Denver, Colorado.
Heard of it?
To go and do radio broadcasting school out there.
Why Denver? Oh, because they had a school.
They had a broadcasting school. I guess I could have gone here to Walter Cronkite, but I didn't really want to. I wanted to move out.
Yeah.
Well, a month before I was supposed to move to Colorado, my appendix burst, and all of my money that I was saving up had to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So then I messaged Brett Vesley over at KUPD, who does the overnights. They're probably like 8 years ago. 8 years ago now. And it was 3 a.m. I was high as shit. And I was like, what do I do to get in radio?
Yeah.
And he's like, and he took the time. He's like, start from the bottom, work your way up.
Yeah.
Even if you're the janitor, get your name in there, get your foot in the door. And if you're talented and you're willing to work hard, you're going to get to where you want. Sure as shit. 7, 8 years later. Not even.
I'm 7 years in comedy.
You're 7 years.
Yeah.
Dude, did we start around the same time?
2012. I think I was
I
April
started
2012.
2011.
Okay, so you're a year on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, even this morning show, I've only been doing it. Everything moves so fast, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, 100%. I was not on the TV. I'm on
You're
local
on TV.
television.
Yeah,
Mo.
I'm over here talking about radio. You're being seen. You're being seen.
First of all, of the two mugs on this couch, I don't think I should be the one on TV, but somehow I got there.
I mean, you're not lying. But here's the thing: is
it all moves quick.
Oh gosh, I forgot what I was saying now.
Well, we were initially talking about the influence, the kids. That you're enamored by these kids having looking up to you.
Yeah.
Whereas your perspective was the same that these kids have. Your perspective on Carly Hustle was the same.
And it's so strange how I always never go back and look at that. I'm always looking forward and like
look within.
Exactly, look within. But you know what? Like, I've been talking a lot about me. I'm curious as to who influences you and like what made you come up or want you to come up. Was there anyone kind of like my Carly Hustle that took the time?
Carly Hustle. I know that. I mean, I always just loved comedy. I always loved stand-up comedy and stuff. It really wasn't the only way I got in. I know that I liked the connection that I could make through publicly speaking. So, the biggest thing that happened in my life was my buddy died in Iraq in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And it was my best friend. I remember I called we were all pretty close. I was close to his family. I've known him since I was like probably not whole baseball, 4th grade, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I got word that he had passed away, and I called one of his brothers. He had 5 of them, still has 5 of them. And I was like, hey, I want to speak at the funeral. And I did. And I remember in that speech I had the pastor that was there in the church, I had him laughing and crying.
Oh.
And now I remember walking off and talking to a lot of people, and they, people came up to me like, you got to get into public speaking. Mm-hmm. They said actually like motivational speaking and stuff like that. And I was really just speaking from the heart. I was just trying to be as real as possible. I remember my perspective towards speaking was that he was 21 when he died. And a lot of times, I mean, you know your friends better at that point than your family knows you.
Right.
At 21, if you died, like, who knows you best? Probably the dude you've been kicking it with since you were 16, right?
Right.
Like, so I wanted to make sure that was portrayed when he passed. I say all that to say, like, I remember that moment publicly speaking in front of hundreds of people, that connection that was made.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I wanted to get into. I was actually thinking about doing like motivational speaking and stuff like that, like Tony Robbins and stuff.
Really?
Which is crazy. I just knew I wanted to speak publicly,
mm-hmm.
and then it was, it's just one of those things where I've always been funny. It's like, why not just start stand-up comedy?
Mm-hmm.
But I watched a documentary called The Comedian. Seinfeld put it out.
Okay.
You ever seen that?
I remember seeing it on Netflix or something.
So I remember my dad took us to see it in theaters, and I'll never forget watching that and seeing how depressing
mm-hmm.
the life of a comedian looked and how little money there was and stuff like that.
And
you
were instantly attracted to it.
Honestly, I was immediately not attracted to it. I remember thinking up until that point, I'll be on Letterman. I'll be on these late night shows. I want to be in that chair and talk to them. But I remember watching that documentary and being like, I'm never doing that. That looks sad as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
But after I figured I wanted to definitely get in front of people and speak and stuff like that, it was like, I think I was 25 and I was just goal oriented that year, and I was like, I'm gonna try it.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a point where I was like, I just like putting myself in uncomfortable situations, and I just did it. And I did it that April. I remember it being around Easter, so I never remember exactly what the day is. But I went to a couple open mics. I watched. I didn't go up,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, I can try it. And I tried it the next week, and the first one, I have the audio recording probably somewhere on a BlackBerry.
Mm-hmm.
It was horrible, but I remember thinking it went really well. And I remember biking home with my brother and being like, that was so exhilarating.
It's funny because I'm pretty sure you told me the first time I met you that you fucking killed it on your first.
I probably thought I did kill it. Honestly, I've listened to that audio and it's cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Years later, I
mean, think about it. Like everybody's first time on, like in front of people on a microphone, it doesn't matter. It's
nobody
cringe.
crushes.
No.
Yeah, especially people that say they crushed. Like, oh, you got 4 laughs.
Yeah.
That felt probably pretty good.
4 out of like 50.
Mm-hmm.
But you got the 4, so it's fine.
So, but that's kind of what it is. I don't think there was anybody specifically. I go back to my buddy having passed away. That changed the perspective on a lot of things that I did. The way that I operated was completely different after he died, because he was 21 when he died, and I always hold on to his life very close to me, because he's not here to do the things that he could have done or whatever he wanted to do. And one of my biggest fears is having regrets when I get older, and being like 50 to 60 years old. I've seen it in my father before he passed away. I remember thinking that he knows he could have done things differently, or done. We all know somebody that's later in their years and looks back on this time in their life when they just didn't do everything they could have done. And I hate that feeling. So I always just want to do as much as I can, and comedy is one of them.
It's interesting how parents can be an influence in a different way, where it's to not be like them or to not do the things that they do. I'm actually struggling this with my mom. My mom is a fucking hardcore go-getter.
Mm-hmm.
This woman doesn't have a minute for her life,
Mm-hmm.
for herself. And I've always based myself on like, oh, well, I shouldn't be lazy because look at my mom. She's taking care of my grandpa who has dementia.
Right.
She's a guardian of 4 of my nephews.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she is the full-time, she's the breadwinner. Like this, she doesn't have any time for anybody or for herself. But still manages to make time for birthday parties and things like that.
Right.
So I always feel like, well, I shouldn't be lazy because she's not lazy. And then you got to remember, like, but is she happy? Because I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of weird take and gives and all these little things. They influence you to make better choices for yourself because not everybody's the same.
I think sometimes like my dad was he was a flawed man.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really break down anybody's life, everybody's got flaws. So it's an easy thing to say, and some people think you're being mean or whatever. He was flawed in a lot of ways, and some of it directly impacted my life in negative ways. And I think sometimes, people maybe are like, oh, I wish you had it easier growing up, or I wish your life was different. Like sometimes my mom is, who you've met,
Mm-hmm.
she's awesome, right? She's amazing. But she sometimes looks back on my life and she wishes that she made different decisions to be able to enhance my youth in a different way, or she wishes that my dad was different and made better decisions, so we didn't have certain years of our lives that were just kind of a struggle when you look back in hindsight. But like I always tell her, like, first of all, I'm happy with who I am as a person right now.
Mm-hmm.
I am super satisfied with the man that I've become, and I always know that I can get better, and I'm always trying to work to improve that. But I'm very happy with how everything's played out. So don't ever feel bad about the negative shit how we were raised, because if those things didn't happen, I fear the man that I'd be now. If those things didn't happen, who the fuck would I be? Because I know that I act a lot of the things that I do are in spite of things that happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad. Honestly, I feel bad for the motherfuckers that I know that had everything laid out for them. The dudes that had everything paid for them. Like, what perspective do you have when you gain $100,000 in your life?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean shit. You had $1 million in the bank when you were born.
Right.
It's like that's what I feel bad
because
for.
that's where the entitlement comes from, and they don't know what the struggle is to tell their story. It's not a story when everything's handed to you.
Yeah.
It's a story when there's a struggle.
And there's still people out there too. Like I got real close friends that had money, or have money now, whatever. They still grind, and I still respect the fuck out of them. I respect them just as much as anybody. The ones that don't look at the money the same way that other people look at the money, and they see that they still got to go out there and earn, and continue to make their imprint on, and don't think about what you got in the bank and stuff like that.
But that brings an interesting point too. I mean, if you're doing something that you love, I mean, the money's just going to roll in. You're not even going to worry about that because you're more focused on grinding, hustling, creating, which for me right now is all I want to surround myself with. Creative people, people that are grinding, people that want more for themselves. Because that's what I want. If I hang out with people that are just going to be depressed and shit on everything that I do, they do, just super negative, like, I don't need that stuff. I'm trying to move forward with my life. I'm not trying to be held back by some rocks,
It's crazy. I think it changed. My perspective on it changed around 30. I'm 32. We're both the same. 32, we're like a week apart.
Yeah.
Right? Team Sag. Sag for life. Where we at?
Hashtag it.
What? And so, but around 30, I do remember distinctly starting to think about the people that I was surrounded with. I've always actually surrounded myself with a circle that I was always proud of. I've always been conscious of it. But now I'm like, I'm getting people out of my circle that are a waste of the circle. Like, you don't belong in my circle, and you aren't enhancing me. The rule of thumb is real simple. You can make it black and white if you want. If you're not enhancing my life, get the fuck out of it.
Right.
And that might sound like I don't know what that might sound like. Maybe arrogant or
Not at
I
all,
don't think
man.
so.
I mean,
Maybe
you're trying to live your
disrespectful?
best you.
yeah.
And you don't need other people's bullshit or time suckers because there's a lot of those coming through.
Right.
More often than not. So I also do a local music segment
Yeah.
at the station or for the station. And a lot of times bands or like managers want to sit there and they're like, let's go to lunch. Let's go have coffee. And I'm like, I don't have time to do any of that. What is it that you want to talk about? Send me an email and let's do this. It's not that I don't care about that person. I just don't need to sit there and have a conversation about things that aren't moving me forward.
Right. That
in
sounds
life.
like a waste of an hour.
Exactly.
And I only got 24 of them in a day.
Oh God!
So
And let
it's
me tell you,
like-
there's still not enough time.
I know, and I still need
not
more.
enough time.
I know it's crazy. I have certain people sometimes ask me for advice, like in the comedy scene in Phoenix. I'm definitely a name that people I
You're
like to think
becoming
look
a
up to.
well-known name.
Right,
yeah.
everybody know. Like if you're doing comedy in Phoenix, you would know who I was
Mhm.
just because I run a bunch of shows, all that stuff, whatever. And some of them know me on a real level enough to be able to ask for advice and stuff like that. And one thing I'll give advice, but like certain people will ask me for advice, and then I'll give them. I'll take time out of my day because I also know how important that was when I was coming up. Right,
Mhm.
I see the value in it. I understand, people that were able to give me the time of day that I respected in my earlier years. I mean, that pushed me along for the next 6 months,
Mhm.
12 months, even at this point. You always think about those moments, so it's important to be able to give them the time of day. But if I give you a bunch of advice and then the next time I see you, you
You're-
haven't even applied that
Right.
advice, first of all, fuck you
Yeah.
for wasting my time because I've been through shit that you're probably going to go through too, and I gave you my perspective and you didn't act on that at all. So that pisses me off.
Mhm.
And secondly, don't fucking ask me for shit again. I saw you're wasting my time. So now I see you as somebody that's not only not enhancing my life, but also bringing me back down. And I just took 30 minutes out of my life to tell you some shit that you're not even gonna listen to.
Mhm.
The fuck is wrong?
God,
with you?
imagine if you're a motivational speaker.
Oh, I should be. I actually should bail on comedy and go back into that.
No, I was thinking how pissed off you would be because there'd be a lot of people that would go to your stuff and not
but at
apply
least
it to
they'd
their life.
pay.
Well, I wouldn't pay you, but
but those motivational speakers,
That's
they
what
don't
they do.
they don't
They
give a
do.
shit if you, in fact actually they probably want you to not apply it
Mhm.
because that means next year when I come back and do the same shit, you're probably going to pay again because you didn't even hear me the first time.
I feel like you should stay in comedy.
I'd be such a horrible
God, you
motivational
really
speaker.
would. You would be really shitty.
Yeah, most of my advice to
Why don't you try on Instagram?
well, my motivational speech to comics is usually quit. You
Yeah,
should quit.
yeah.
You shouldn't do this.
But that's the best.
Do you
thing
love
could
yourself?
do. Yeah.
Does your family love you? Are your parents still together? Then don't do this.
Yeah.
What are you
You
doing?
got a lot going for you right now.
Yeah. What the fuck?
I will say this though, you should stay in comedy just because, in the short time that I've known you for like less than a year now, actually.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Like first of all, when we met, I think we just immediately knew that there was a creative spark there and we're like, we want to do something
Yeah,
together. We
yeah.
just don't know what we want to do. And
Sure.
I think we tried out a whole bunch of different things. But in the short time that I've known you, I mean, you were hosting comedy shows.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you put on your own little thing
Mhm.
with Genuine. You have This Week Sucks Tonight,
Mhm.
which you were doing when I met you as well.
Yep.
But now it's grown.
Yeah.
It's grown to
Stand
even
Up
bigger.
Live.
Now it's Stand Up Live. Now you're on NBC Sports doing TV stuff. Every
Crazy.
week you're going on a new adventure with things around the valley. And
now I'm starting a dope ass podcast.
now we're starting a
with the
podcast
homie.
about being creative and
Mhm.
staying focused and
Yep.
staying motivated, because I feel like a lot of people, and you know what, this could also be a thing for other people that do want to stay motivated and stay creative, is
Sure.
what could they do, or what are some of the tricks that they could apply to their lives. But on top of that, talking to other people in different industries, not just in the entertainment industry.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, or even influencers. Like how do people get into where they're into their career path or their entrepreneurship or whatever they're doing.
And I think that a lot of times when people ask like who your influences are, it always sometimes like yours could be Carly Hustle and mine could be, George Carlin or something like
Yeah.
that, right? But also there are people that influence both of us, I'm sure, that aren't in our walk of life, right?
Right.
Like I know, for example, like I was saying, like some of my friends got good money, well off. One of my best friends in the world is Sam Oxteen. His dad's Dan Oxteen. I also knew them when they were just a middle class family with pretty nice house in Blue Ash, Ohio, and the suburbs of Cincinnati, and I've seen them as a family work hard as fuck to be able to build this company, sell it, make that money,
Right.
and then start another company. Those are the people that I was able to be surrounded by in my young life, and those are people that really motivated me to be able to say, like, work. Really, at the end of the day, work hard. Don't let up.
Yeah.
And outwork everybody. I think the Midwest was a great place for me to grow up. My dad was from LA, my mom was from New York, and then they somehow they met in Chicago, which is interesting, and then we wound up in Cincinnati by the time I was born. But that Midwest work ethic, like, there's people back there that motivate me because it's just about work. Like, when I got into comedy, you can be funnier than me. A lot of people are going to be funnier than me. Hopefully not too many, but
or else you won't have a job.
I'm going to outwork you. That's the only reason I got to the top of the Phoenix chain. I just outworked a bunch of lazy motherfuckers.
Well, not just that, but you also had a good group with you to help you.
Iron sharpens iron. Yeah.
Iron sharpens, exactly.
And surround yourself with like-minded people too that work hard.
I think that's the most important thing that you could take from any position is if you want to move up in life, surround yourself with people that are going to help launch you, and you launch them.
Right. Don't surround yourself with somebody that's going to work to be able to help you grow like this, and you're both doing that. Right? When they see you go like this, they want to catch up, and when you see them go like that, you want to catch up.
Exactly.
Is a wildly important thing, because otherwise you're just stagnant. You see the motherfuckers. Yeah, if you go see somebody that's just kind of hit a middle of the road, go ask them who their friends are, and have a real breakdown.
Is there anybody here in Phoenix that you would say that is on their game that kind of motivates you to want to be better?
In Phoenix, I mean, I'm working with. Anwar is always good, yeah. But I'm trying to think. I mean, honestly, I'm able to surround myself with a lot of them. I'm able to see you continue to not only just do your radio show, like the thing that we have in common too is like, yeah, I do stand up, but also I do all these other things, and you do the radio show. But like you were saying with the Instagram, the Facebook, and all that stuff, you understand that there's other ways to be able to reach people.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you never stop. You do the vlog and stuff like that. Well, dude, you guys are crazy.
Well, that's because there has to be a different way for me to get out to other people, because it's not like this place is paying for marketing for me. You know, I got to put myself out in different ways. And quite honestly, the thing that I find disappointing with a lot of people is how they don't utilize social media. Right. It is the #1 biggest billboard that we have in our hands that people are glued and connected to, that for some reason they are like, they just don't want to, they don't want to put in the work, and it's free.
And it's free.
I mean, and you could even be smart and make it not free and just sponsor that shit out. You know, have people pay for the content for people to watch and see, because of the algorithms and all that stuff. I know that you have to pay attention to that too, but if you want to be authentically you got to put out authentic content. You got to do things for people to notice you, because how many people are going to turn on the radio? Not many when you have Spotify and Pandora, but when you have an Instagram, you see this teal-haired girl coming up on your search all the time. Like, who's this bitch? You're like, okay, well, she's interesting. She looks like she's at a radio station. Yeah. I think I know that radio station. Like, it all interlinks and intertwines. 100%. Same thing with you. When you go out and you check out the Lowrider show, half of the fucking Mexicans that are probably I'm related to had no idea who you were. They all
mentioned you.
Yeah, exactly.
By name.
And they're like, you know, hey, prima, did you see that guy, Mike or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. They call you Miguel now, but it's fine.
Yeah, me llamo Miguelito Sanchez. Estoy en Caballero de la Noche.
Okay, well, I don't know. I think you said something about fighting chicken. So
but whatever. I also, and on a local level too, as far as motivation, I know 2 guys that have been able to pop super hard, and I started with them in comedy, which is James Petrogallo and Jimmy Wisman. And they do, you know them too.
Yeah, one of them was on Chelsea.
Well, so they do the podcast, which is what is it? Small Town Murder.
Oh,
Small Town Murder.
They were doing stuff here for a minute. Yeah.
Small Town Murder and Crime in Sports.
Yes.
So it's 2 podcasts, and you could sit back and say like, oh, they're doing a murder podcast, or oh, they're doing this sports podcast. but they've been able to hit those markets, which aren't breaking the mold that
Mm-hmm.
much in anything as far as like those 1 million murder podcasts, right?
Right.
They've been able to work their fucking ass off to be able to differentiate themselves within those
Mm-hmm.
wildly popular genres to be able to make it their own. And they're in the, like, look at the top 100 shit right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if both of them are in there, but at least one of them is in there. And they're both from Phoenix. They started doing comedy. And it's funny, they definitely are people that I keep an eye on to be able to stay motivated, because I saw them. We all worked these shitty mics like 7 years ago when I started. Like, me and Petra Gallo used to be, it was trash. Like, I don't even remember the name of the bar. He probably would, because he's got a weird memory like that. But it was down in Tempe, and I just remember being like, this is comedy. And I actually remember thinking that in a very positive way, like, this is it.
Yeah.
And, you know, then you get jaded and all this shit, and you're like, fuck those shows. But I remember he was such a good writer. James was always such a strong writer and a good writer, and it's been able to translate to something that is a little outside comedy. They're still doing, it's still very joke-oriented, very
Mhm.
funny. But, I mean, that's somebody that worked their fucking ass off,
Mm-hmm.
and was able to take something that they were passionate about and outwork everybody
Mhm.
and make a product that is now one of the most successful podcasts, which is a huge thing
Right.
to say now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much money they got, but, like, I got student loans, James. And
Right.
Jimmy, you know what I mean?
They're paying
Like,
off their
I'm
student loans still,
struggling,
too.
dog.
Excuse me. That was good. I gotta look at the time here. It's
Oh,
like
we're good.
55 minutes.
So,
But yeah.
do you want to wind down? And then
Yeah,
I
I
was
think
thinking
so.
also, we could do a separate intro.
I was also thinking
So we
that
just
too.
kinda got into
'cause-
it?
Yeah.
And what we can do is set it up in a different way.
Yeah.
Well, here, so where were we at? Talking about James and Jimmy. And then you burped.
I know. It felt right though. I don't
I
know
know.
why. But then I just completely lost my spot now.
But either way. So there's an example of creatives in the city that have
Mhm.
been able to take something, work their butt off, and be able to pop
Yeah.
straight from Phoenix, which is something I think that moving forward we want to focus on with this, right? We
Yes.
want to be able to, we might tap into markets outside of Phoenix. We definitely want to put showcase
I
and
want to put some
spotlight
people on the map
Phoenix
here.
on the map for sure, and be
And I
able
mean-
to talk to them about what they're doing.
Right. I mean, and it can go, and it honestly ranges from a lot of people. I mean, I know friends that have, started their way up in tattooing, being tattoo artists, and worked their way up, now have their own shop.
Which is a grind that I'm not even familiar with, and I'd love to figure out.
Right? It's so interesting, especially because I can't draw for shit, man.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it's so bad. I'm stick figure city.
Yeah.
But these guys, they could just effortlessly draw you something in 5 seconds, and it's
Crazy.
masterpiece.
And even on a local level, one thing I love is the restaurant scene in Phoenix.
Yes.
There's so many good little pockets of restaurant
Mhm.
owners. It started with obviously Fox, set
Yeah.
the mold for what could be done not only from Phoenix but even throughout the country
Oh,
on
absolutely.
independently run things.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's so many cool little ones that have popped up from this city. I'd love to be able to talk to people like that, and even not even maybe a restaurant owner, but also even like the chefs,
Right.
stuff like that.
Absolutely.
I love chefs. Chefs are
Because-
some of the most interesting people.
But
period.
think about it. I mean, they. I watch MasterChef. Okay, I know Gordon Ramsay.
I'm saying,
But
right? And they
here's the
love
thing.
cocaine.
And oh God, is that all they serve on a plate? I'm pretty sure that's all they eat. No, but when watching all this, it's also a blank canvas for them.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just creating
Blank
food.
plate.
Blank plate. Exactly. They're just creating food that they think is going to be something different. They're going to try and mash something together and bring a whole new taste to your world. And I
crazy.
find that fascinating.
Because you know what and this was something too that I was thinking about is that I'm more captivated when I see a comic go up
Mhm.
and do some stuff that maybe I'll be like, oh, I could do that.
Mhm.
I don't think that's cool at all, really. It's so stupid because first of all, they could be doing it 100 times better than me,
Mhm.
but in my mind, I'm always like, oh, I can do that. It's comedy. What I love is watching somebody do something that I couldn't even like think about how
Oh,
to figure
dude.
out, right? Like
Right?
culinary stuff is a perfect example of that. Somebody that's understanding all the acidic stuff and like what to pair with this and all that stuff.
Right.
That stuff always makes me, it's just wild to me. Artists, the painters or architects and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Those are the most amazing things to me. The people that are doing stuff that My brain doesn't even work like that, and I love talking to people like that.
Or even going as far as, okay, two different spectrums. Like, there's a lady here that makes Muppets, like, for Sesame Street.
What?
She's on Sesame Street.
That's art, dog.
It's crazy art.
Dog, that's art.
I met her at Comic-Con, and, like, even the cosplayers for Comic-Con is very interesting, because that's a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
Which I'm eager to see what your video is going to be for this year for Phoenix Comic-Con.
Oh, I can't wait.
God, it's going to be awesome. And then also going into the world of radio. Let me tell you, there's not a lot of females in radio, but whenever I can find one that's a badass, they're definitely one of the top few people that I want to know more of.
Yeah.
There's a girl here that we actually came up in radio together, but separate stations, same building.
Nina?
No, not Nina. Natasha Castles.
Oh,
She's over at Live 1015. She does the
Okay.
afternoon show. She was on their morning show for a minute, but she's a hustler on so many levels. I know that
Common denominator is always hustler. Work.
Hustler. She
Put the
works,
work in.
And sometimes I find myself like, man, she's doing so much. I'm not doing enough. But then I start to crap on myself, and I got to remember to get out of that.
You're doing
and that's
a lot.
another whole other world that we'll probably get into on another episode.
100%.
How to not fall into that hole of depression that you're not doing enough.
It's because
Because that's the thing too, man.
100%.
God.
Well, you know what it is? It's comparison.
Yeah.
Comparison is unhealthy. To a degree, there is some health in it. There's some driving forces behind it. Shout out to Ray Square.
Yeah, shout out to Ray Square.
Shout out to Ray
You know,
Square.
also her too. I mean,
She's amazing. I
she's
can't
a
do that
videographer,
shit.
photographer. The way that she sees things, is something I can't see.
Yeah.
But she can capture those moments.
It's wild.
It's so much extra. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just so much more attention than I could ever pay.
Yeah.
If that makes any
No,
sense.
100%. It's seeing shit differently, and there's so many avenues to be a creator, and I'm excited to talk to everybody. And also, sometimes it'll just be you and I chopping it up, bullshitting about what we're doing too. So it'll be good.
Dude, and there's gonna be so much shit that we're doing this upcoming year. I mean, I could already feel it. I feel
grind
like this
is
is a
real.
good year for goals.
Yeah.
And if you're really trying to motivate yourself, if you're really trying to push yourself out of the box and be a completely different mold, this is the year to do it.
2019.
I'm feeling it, man.
I mean, and we're building towards 2020, and everybody's gonna have clear vision that year.
Oh my God, seriously.
I'm sorry, I did the This is a 2020 joke about eyesight.
All right, so we're turning his mic off now, forever, because that was some bullshit.
This is gonna be dope. We love you guys for tuning in. I'm excited
just
for
spending
this.
time with us, really.
I'm excited to be able to do something creatively with you finally, and get this thing going.
I'm a little excited. I'm not that excited. But we're good.
This is
Especially
gonna be dope.
when you do a 2020 joke like that.
When I close on 2020 jokes.
Wow.
We should get more.
And that's why he's still hosting comedy shows and not headlining.
I am headlining on. No, I'm
Just
not. I'm not.
He's not doing anything. No, but if you want, you should be following Mike at Not Mike Turner.
At Not Mike Turner.
And then me at Moro Radio, just to kind of get a glimpse of what we do behind the scenes in our lives and whatnot.
And
on
also,
Instagrams.
if you know some people that are doing dope shit and creating some stuff that we don't know about, let us know.
Ooh, that and that you want to hear on the podcast. Yeah, we already have a few people lined up. Really excited to talk to some entrepreneurs, some people that started some businesses basically from nothing. Other radio DJs that have gotten their start and their journey, and people that even do lighting for behind the scenes shows, or even videographers like Ray Squared.
Some drag queens.
Oh my God, I cannot wait to interview a drag queen.
We're gonna get into it. So it'll be good. So we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Thanks for kind of checking out the first podcast.
Blank Canvas.
Blank Canvas, bitches.
Holla.